So I am taking a leap of faith, a very big and scary leap of faith. After 20 years as a teacher, I have made the decision to leave the classroom. And this is not a decision that I am making lightly. After all, after 20 years, this is something that I'm good at. It's something that I'm comfortable with. It's something that I know. It's part of my identity. And yet, it's time for me to make a change. Over the past few years, I've felt that I've grown stagnant in education, that there just isn't that much room for me to grow anymore. And so I'm embracing an opportunity where I am going to be a beginner in every sense of the word. In fact, I'm going to be going from teaching into tech as I do a data science boot camp this summer and work to make that transition. And some days I am so excited. I am so thrilled to see what the future holds. Other days I'm scared to death, worried that I am making a foolish decision, leaving behind something that is known and all of the security that that brings. Other days I'm sad. I'm really going to miss the students and the relationships that I've formed with them. Some days I feel confident, other days I'm completely filled with self-doubt. And all of those emotions are completely normal when it comes to change. Because let's face it, change is hard. And so, like with many things that are hard, we often do our best to avoid it. Now, sometimes we're left with no choice. Think about if your house is on fire, well, you have no option other than to leave, to get out. But what about if the house is just a little bit too small, or if the layout just isn't quite right? And you might try to live with it for a while. Maybe you change up the curtains or buy some new furniture. Maybe you even invest in a more substantial renovation. But at some point, you have to make a decision. You either accept the house as it is with whatever limitations it has, or you decide it's time to move. Now, one thing that this upcoming transition has really given me is so much compassion for those of you that made the decision to leave a marriage. As many of you know, I never made that decision. It basically was thrown into my lap rather abruptly. And I've often said afterwards that I was sort of glad that it happened that way because I never had to make that decision. And now that I'm in the situation of making the decision to leave a career that by all means is good, just no longer the right career for me, oh boy, howdy, do I have so much respect for those of you that have made a similar decision when it comes to a marriage, because it takes so much courage to make that leap, and you all have it in spades. So how do you know when it's time to make that change? One of the first ways that you know it's time is when there's no more variables for you to modify in your current situation. Going with that house analogy, let's say that you have maxed out every possible option in that house and there's nothing more that you can do, and yet you're still not happy. Well, then changing homes is really the only option that's left to you. And it definitely makes sense before you decide to move on, to make that change, to make sure that you've fully exhausted all of the options that you have where you are. Now, there are always times in life when you feel like you have to sort of just put your head down and barrel through. But not every day should feel that way. And so if those moments when it feels like you're just in survival mode and you're just getting it done, slogging through one foot in front of the other, if those days are more prevalent than not, that's a sign that it might be time for you to make a change. Now, we're creatures of inertia. We do what we've done because it's easier to stay that way. But if trudging that groove starts to feel like you're digging the path to your own grave, time to find a new path. You are never going to be 100% certain about a decision to make a major change. It's never going to be the right time. It's never going to feel like, oh, this is exactly what I need to do with any sort of certainty. But if you feel a mixture of both excitement and fear, that's probably a sign that you're going the right direction. When we're in the wrong situation, it weighs on us, it pulls us down. And once you make the decision, before you've even made any actual moves towards it, but once you've made the decision to make that change, if you feel like a weight has been lifted off of you, that's a sign. Change may be hard, but that's no reason to avoid it. After all, everything in life takes effort. Make sure that those efforts are aligned with your goals. Now, for those of you interested in following along on my adventures, and I'm sure misadventures from teaching to tech, I have started a new blog where I'm going to document my experiences through boot camp and job hunting and all of the above. So if you want to check it out, I will put the link in the description.